Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for today because we're gonna talk about books. I love books. I love to read. Some of my best childhood memories are centered around books and reading. Like I love it, I always have. And I started to read business books when I started my business because I thought that would be good. Now, if you've never read nonfiction, I encourage you to give it a try because it's better than it seems. So today we're gonna talk about a bunch of books that I've read in the past 4 months that are all about business. I have a really big stack because we've had summer and we've had distance learning and I'm on the computer all day, so I'm like, I need to get off the computer and have a screen break. And so reading has been kind of my solution to that. So giant stack, and yeah, let's dive right on in. So these are kind of in the order that I read them. I don't 100% remember the order that I read them, but I tried to do that. And they span a range of different topics, which I kind of like because you're all in your own different, you know, business journeys. So what you might need is very different from what someone else might need. So me sharing just all of the things is kind of helpful. So my first book is called The 12-Week Year. This one is by Brian P. Morgan, and it is so actionable, which I love. It talks about setting goals for 12 weeks because that's long enough you can accomplish quite a bit, but it's short enough that you can kind of keep the end in mind and you don't get kind of sidetracked throughout the year. So he walks you through how to set your goals and then also how to like actually accomplish them with his little method called the 12-week year. So it's really good on productivity and time management, but I love that it's not just about productivity and time management. It's like something really specific. So if you're looking, especially if you're looking to like get a lot of stuff done before the end of this year, because it's already October, this is what I would suggest because it really walks you through like how you can accomplish a lot in not that much time. The next one is a little weird, and it's called The Desire Map, and it's by Danielle Laporte. So this book was really interesting. I picked it up at the recommendation of a YouTuber that I like, and it is all about creating goals based on how you want to feel. So I'm not gonna lie, every once in a while it was a little bit touchy and feely for me, but I did like the general premise, and I liked that it really made me kind of stop and think, because I'm one of those people who's like, you know, let's go, 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 go. And I don't really think about like, oh, how do I want to feel? So since reading this, I have really thought more about how I want to feel and those things. And a word that keeps coming up for me is calm. That is a big part of like how I want to feel overall. I'm usually a pretty calm person, but especially like distance learning just was crazy town. And so since I realized that like being able to put more emphasis on that and like think through, okay, where are some moments in my day that I can create some calm, have really helped. So this one, I would say if you're having a hard time being kind of all business, I would go with this one because it does help with those things. Or if you just want more of a holistic approach in general, check this one out. Again, sometimes it was a little touchy-feely for me, but overall I enjoyed it and it was very helpful. And I like that a lot of it is like stuff that you write in, and so it kind of helps you like walk through all of the different things. And it just really got me thinking, which is always good with a book, is a book that gets you thinking. Now, the next one I picked up was actually an ebook, but I printed it out because I hate ebooks. And that is How to Build a Content Machine by Angie Belmar. This, ironically, is the YouTuber that was the one that suggested the Desire Map. Angie Belmar, who is a Beachbody coach, and she has a YouTube channel that I absolutely love. She's one of my favorite people to watch. Like, she's one, like, I see a video by her and I'm like, we're dropping everything and we're watching it. So she made this book about how she runs her business, basically, mostly like social media. And so she talks about the idea of a content machine and how you can take your content and kind of shift it out into different things. So she talks a lot about having a lead platform that you then create smaller platforms going off of that. And it has been so helpful. This is probably the reason I have been able to keep up with my social media over the past few months. Because I really enjoyed it. I think I'm gonna read it a second time actually. I really enjoyed it. It really helped me to think through like, what are the smartest things I want to do? How do I want people to make me feel? And every time that I feel like being lazy and being like, oh, I'll just throw something up, I'm like, no, we need to stop and we need to think about this, and you know, like putting in the effort. So it's really good. It's pretty short, which is, I mean, kind of helpful. And it goes through lots of like misconceptions, how to create quality content, creating depth with your audience, what to talk about, and creating your content machine, and then motivation. And I have to tell you, if you're looking for motivation, like she's the bomb. She's the bomb. So I will link her below. She actually has 2 YouTube channels. So she has her main one, which is kind of like lifestyle. She talks a lot about like decorating and Disney. And right now she's having like a whole, she's posting a video every single day for October for like Halloween type stuff. And then she has another YouTube channel that is more talking about social media, motivation, goal setting, time management, like that kind of stuff. And if you ever have a day that you do not feel like doing anything, that is where I would go. That is where I go when I feel like I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I'm like, oh, I'll go watch one of Angie's videos. And on the other side, like I am pumped and I'm ready to go and excited, because she is just, you know, she shoots it to you straight, and she runs this amazing business, and it's just awesome. All right, next up is kind of like the opposite of the desired map, and that is ask Gary Vee. So if you know anything about Gary Vee, you know that he is very big on the hustle, and specifically talks a lot about content marketing and social media and that kind of stuff. This book was actually one my husband had that he picked up because he sometimes will listen to Gary Vee on YouTube, and so I picked it up to read it because I was interested to see, you know, a little bit about Gary, because I hear so much about him. And it was really actually better than I thought it was gonna be. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. The caveat I would say is that they took a bunch of his like questions that he's gotten, like literally that people have asked him, and put them together. I would have preferred to read his other book that is more like specific about things, because this was kind of a very general like question type thing, and so it was kind of all over the place. But it had a lot of really good nuggets and a lot of really interesting things. And even though it talks about some things like Vine, yep, stuff like that that are just not even a thing anymore, but the strategies behind them are still useful and still helpful. And so I find that really good. This is taking longer than I thought, so I'm gonna have to stop, do my live stream, and then I will come back. See you on the flip side. For you, not much has changed, but for me, about 40 minutes just passed. Oh, lives make me so tired, and now I can't figure out where I had the camera. Next up, I have this book, which is a little bit less of a like teach you about business book, but it's so good, and it's called To Pixar and Beyond, and this is by Lawrence Levy. So this guy came into Pixar. First of all, did we know that Steve Jobs like financed Pixar, and like that was one of his companies? Because I did not know that until I read this book. I picked it up and I was like, what? But it's literally called My Unlikely Journey with Steve Jobs to Make Entertainment History. So he's the guy that came in, and he was like the CEO or the CFO or something like that of Pixar, and basically turned it around and got it to where it is now, really. So it goes all the way from when he starts in Pixar until they sell to Disney. So if you don't know, Pixar had they had like a 3-movie contract, and the first was Toy Story. So that was the first ever Pixar movie, like full-length feature. And they had a contract with Disney to like distribute the movie. And so they had like 3 lined up, and then they ended up selling to Disney afterwards. So all of the Pixar movies are Disney Pixar, but technically they were their own company at first. So that it was, I don't know, it was just really interesting. I am a Disney nerd, if you didn't know. I literally am wearing, let's talk about this. I'm literally wearing these bracelets from Lillian & Co. that I am obsessed with. I'm gonna buy some more. I just haven't decided which ones I want, that are Disney quotes. Is that gonna focus? Yeah, so the top one says, go live your dream. And then the bottom one says, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. So go live your dream is from Tangled, and then it's kind of fun to do the impossible is a Walt Disney quote. And I just like, I love Disney. It's such a thing. I even have like Disney vlogs on my channel you can watch, and just, Love it. So this really spoke to the Disney nerd in me, and it had a lot of businessy things in there too. Lots of stuff you can kind of glean from it. All right, next up is the Starbucks experience. So I kind of decided I needed a focus for my learning, and I started with like social media, and I'm still doing some social media like research and finding different strategies and stuff like that. But I also wanted to really look into more of like a customer service kind of aspect, which is where this book came in. I actually borrowed this from my dad. His church used it for all their volunteers. They had like all their volunteers read it, which I thought was kind of hilarious. It was really good. So it goes through the 5 big principles that Starbucks uses to make their brand cohesive, make it really just how Starbucks is. You know, when you think of Starbucks, you think of like that cozy, like I can go and work there, and just how Starbucks really like creates that atmosphere and creates people who want to keep coming back even though their coffee is ridiculously expensive. It goes through 5 different things. It's make it your own, everything matters, surprise and delight, embrace resistance, and leave your mark. But really tactical, really helpful tips. And what was interesting is the guy who wrote this doesn't work for Starbucks. He just wanted to write about their brand because it just was so helpful. So I really enjoyed this. It was really interesting, pretty easy to read, and it has a lot of really actionable steps and just a lot of really fun random Starbucks facts. So I will say I've read another book by the guy who started Starbucks, and the more you read about Starbucks, the more you're gonna like it. Because before I was like, this is just overpriced coffee. So on that same theme, the next book I have is Superfans by Pat Flynn. So Pat Flynn is the owner, CEO, the person in charge of Smart Passive Income, which is my favorite. So if you are a podcast listener, definitely go check out Smart Passive Income, the podcast. So great, so helpful. He's got like hundreds of episodes because he's been podcasting forever. He has a YouTube channel. He's been going actually live every single day of quarantine. So it's been like 200 days. It's craziness, like for like an hour. Yeah, I'm like, wow. He didn't plan to do that. He thought, you know, it was gonna be like a week or 2, and then it's still happening. So this book is about how to take your customers from like people who are just meeting you all the way through the customer journey to like people who will buy everything you make because they just love you so much. And it's very tactical and very easy to read. He's very big on stories and telling stories. So, and he does this in his podcast, he does it on YouTube, he does it everywhere. He like everything is a story, which makes it so easy to read. And again, really specific things with like pictures in there that like show everything and exercises you can do. And just, y'all know I love a specific thing you can do. So I have been using quite a bit of the things that I have learned in here to try to help my, you know, casual passerbyers become people who actually like watch everything I do, you know, read every blog post, open every email, and that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's a journey and it's never really gonna end, but it's something I have been really thinking about, like how can I keep my current customers happy and keep them returning? And that's what this is all about. And the thing I love is that they're pretty much all free things for the most part. Some of them are a little bit crazier, but a lot of them are just like really simple things that you can do. So I've been really working on, again, customer service, trying to get those audience members to continue returning. The next book I picked up because everybody talks about it, and that is High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. I had promised myself I wasn't going to read any more habit books or any more time management books because I don't usually find that I need them anymore. Like I'm kind of at the point where like I know a lot about time management and I know a lot about habits. I kind of just wrote about them in my book, which I wasn't going to mention yet, The Happier Teacher Life. I talk a lot about habits and a lot about time management in there, but I'm so glad I picked this one up. This book is really helpful and strategic, and it was better than I expected. So it has 3 different sections, and it ends up with 6 different habits that are very specific of things that you can do from high performance. So Brendon Burchard is a high performance coach. So he coaches like CEOs and like Olympic athletes and like all these really cool people, and to help them be successful. So the habits are kind of general, but he gives really specific examples of how to do that. And they are: seek clarity, generate energy, raise necessity, increase productivity, develop influence, and demonstrate courage. So these 6 habits are kind of like the culmination of high performing people. And when you are high performing, like, you kind of have to have all of those things. And he gives, again, really specific examples of how you can increase them. There is a high performance habit test you can take. There's like a ton of free downloads and stuff that you can take and use. So you can like take the test to see where you need some more work so that you know kind of where to go. One thing I like is that he has a ton of these like questions. So it says like performance prompts, and it'll have like 3 or 4 little questions. And so I have actually been going through and journaling based on those questions. So like, I read the whole book, but I've been going back through and just kind of flipping through and picking, like, I've been going in order actually, and going through and just answering those in my journal, not like every day, but you know, just kind of whenever I feel like it, whenever I think about it. And that's been really helpful to kind of keep it still on the top of my mind and help me to keep coming back to it. I would definitely recommend picking this one up, especially if you are looking more at the like, not needing like specific business strategies, but more like, I need my life to go better, and like, you know, kind of that more holistic approach. And if you just feel like something is missing, this is where I would go. The 4-Hour Work Week. I have had this on my Amazon wishlist for a very long time, and I finally bought it, and I am so glad I did. I was a little worried I wasn't gonna like it because I thought it was gonna be more time management, and again, I told myself I wasn't gonna read any time management, but clearly I don't know anything. So this was actually not that much about time management and more about having an automated business so that you can do whatever you want with your life, which I love. So he goes through, there are 5 different steps. And so it's definition, which is like figuring out what you actually want in life. So like, he does these crazy, like, he goes to different countries and stays for like a couple of months and learns new languages and does all of these crazy things. You may not want that, but it just helps you get really clear about like what you want to do. Helps you think through that. The second is elimination. So that is more of the time management, and something I love, he talks, the 3 on here, it says the end of time management, actually, and then selective ignorance and the art of refusal. So he talks a lot about delegating. He talks a lot about not consuming information that you don't actually need, and just really getting your priorities clear about stuff like that. He talks about how he like never reads emails, like he like doesn't do meetings, and just all of these really interesting things that will really help you kind of be like, huh, that's interesting. Number 3 is automation. And so it talks about getting all of your stuff to work for itself. So this is really great if you are a TPT author, which I assume you are, because we really need that automation piece for our businesses to work, because we have that passive income. If you are getting all your sales because you are driving those sales, like you're talking about something and then people are buying them, that's awesome. But that means you have to continue talking about it for people to continue to buy it. So he talks a lot about automation so that you can kind of like set up those funnels so that things will work without you having to actually sit there and be there. And he talks a lot about how usually you are the person slowing down your business, and his business took off when he took like 2 or 3 months off and just basically told his assistant, like, do whatever you think is best. And that's when his business like actually took off. The next one is liberation. So it talks about like how to not have to live, you know, in one place, how to not have to work all of the time. And it just was a very practical guide to how to just kind of live your life a little bit differently. I loved it because it was specifically about outsourcing things, eliminating work that's unnecessary, and just really like getting that automation piece down, which is something I'm working on in my business, is getting it more automated so that I can take myself out a little bit more. I'm kind of still in the like, I love my business, and so I want to be there, but I also want my things that I've already created to be selling by themselves without me having to like, you know, drive all of the sales. I'm totally fine driving sales, but you know, I don't want to drive them. Oh. The last book we're going to talk about is Building a Story Brand. So this is by Donald Miller. And this one goes along with that like super fans, the Starbucks book kind of theme, talking about how you can really get your customers the best quality. That didn't make any sense. Really get your customers to have the best experience with your brand. So he talks about making your brand into a story where your customer is the hero, and he goes through each chapter and talks about specific like how to do that. He talks about why stories are important, why you should use stories in your brand. It's a really quick read. I don't even think it has 200 pages. No, it's like right at 200. Yeah, so like 207. So super quick read. It has a lot of stories in it since he's talking about stories, and really eye-opening. He also has like some stuff online that you can download to go along with that and make your brand into a story brand. Now, I do have to give a shout out to 2 books that I've read many times over the past few months, and those are my 2 books. Oh my gosh, I like was thinking about what I was gonna say today, and I was like, I have 2 books out. Like, that is crazy to me. So if you don't know, I wrote and released this book, Level Up Your Teacher Business, this summer, and it is specifically for TPT authors to literally level up your teacher business. I will link it down below, just like all of these other ones will be linked as well. Just a heads up, those are affiliate links, which means if you click on them and you purchase anything, I get like a couple of cents from Amazon. So just a heads up, you don't pay any extra, I just get a little kickback. And then the other one is the one that just went out on October 1st, and that is The Happier Teacher Life, which feels more like a book. I created this one to go along with the Level Up Your Teacher Business course, so I feel like this is more of a book and this is more of like, goes along with that. But look at them, it's just so beautiful. There is nothing like seeing your name in print, I have to say. So those, I'm not going to talk about them a lot, but they'll be linked down below because I did read them. All right, and the last thing before we click out is every time we do one of these, I want to give a shout out to some really good fiction books, just 1 or 2. I'm not going to talk about them a lot, but because I just love talking about books. So today I want to talk about an author, and that is Daphne du Maurier. So Daphne du Maurier is probably my favorite author. I love her. Love her. I read her for the first time in English, my first English class in college, and it was horror themed, which she said that and I was like, this ain't gonna work. But it was actually really interesting and let me read a lot of books I didn't think I would have read otherwise. Specifically, we read some short stories by Daphne du Maurier and I fell in love. So I have 3 of her books here. I have Rebecca, which was the first one that I read because it's my name, so I just had to. The second one I read is My Cousin Rachel. And then I just picked up Mary Ann, which I'm gonna read this month. It's gonna be kind of my spooky read. So Daphne du Maurier makes these really interesting stories. They're kind of, they're technically in the horror drama, but they're not like scary. They're just a little creepy. And their endings are usually kind of unsettling. Like usually you'll close the book and you're like, so what just happened? But they're so interesting, cannot put them down, so exciting. So I'm really excited to read this new one, Mary Ann. I picked it up specifically because I was like, it's, you know, I don't get super into Halloween, but I have the last of the Wicked books, and so I'm gonna read that and I'm gonna read this, and that'll be like my ode to Halloween. And I have a couple movies. I've never seen like Hocus Pocus, so I feel like I need to watch that because everyone else is talking about it and I'm like, oh, I've never seen this movie, so I need to watch it. Anyway, so that is my little fiction tribute. So each time we do one of these videos, we'll talk all about the business books and I'll throw a little fiction one in there at the end. If you made it all the way down here to the end, first of all, you're awesome. Secondly, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please let me know that you enjoyed it, if you've read any of these books, and what business books you would suggest so that we know, you know, I know what to pick up next. I love talking books and could seriously talk about them all day. But unfortunately, that is not what this channel is about, so I will spare you the rest of the details. I really tried to be as concise as I could be, although this was like a giant stack, so it did take some time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!